Just a pilot in his cockpit seated. Black leather on his ass, keep a hustler heated.
Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. So you might recall from the last video, we dropped the car off at Peitz Performance to get the 426 installed, cam, fuel system, all sorts of stuff. So there were a few changes from the last time I spec'd out the exact details of what I was going to do. Mostly to the fuel system and of course 426 rather than 392. So let me go over that right now with you guys so you can see what it's going to do, and the costs also went up a little bit. So we'll take a look at that as well. Okay, here we go. I just folded it in half so you can't see all the prices and my my personal info, which I'd prefer to not show. So anyway, here we go. This is a full build from the start. So Arrington Performance 426 Hemi. It is 600 horsepower crank rated, but I assume that they're talking about that with the 11:1 compression and not the 9.5. But as you know from talking with Alex in the last video, mine is probably going to be more closer to like 10, like low 10s, 10 and a half. So that's good to hear that it'll be around somewhere around 600 horsepower just on the motor, since it is a larger displacement, and you can see it does derive from a 6.4 block. This is coming straight from Arrington, so they're not upgrading my block. I'm actually doing something else with my motor with Alex, so you know, don't think that this is the same engine. My engine's not even going to be in the car anymore. It's going to be in someone else's car. So anyway, it's going to have a forged crankshaft, which is the only real, I don't want to say, other than the displacement difference, the forged crankshaft is really the only major difference that I can see in these, since you know, obviously Dodge doesn't make a forged you know, stroker crankshaft for these. It's obviously made by Manley, so it's going to be a forged crankshaft too, which I think the factory one's forged as well, so I don't think that's a huge difference. And this is just showing what they all do. They're going to prep it, you know, H-beam 4340 rods, forged pistons, like all the good stuff. So let's move on. And this motor is supposed to be good for somewhere around 1,000, 1,200 to the wheel. So it's a pretty stout motor. It's supposed to be able to pretty reliably handle a good amount of power, assuming you have everything else to go with it. So okay, now we got a cord charge, and that's just through Arrington, and of course the custom camshaft. So he's gonna make a custom grind camshaft for my specs, and I think we talked about that. I talked about it with him on the last video, so you probably can remember that, and I'll link to that on the bottom in case anyone's curious what Alex from Peitz Performance said about that. It's Peitz Performance that's doing this entire build, so for anyone new to the channel, that's who's doing it, and I'll link to them below. So it's going to have Gen 3 Hemi lifters, which PSI valve springs, Hemi Performance push rods, phase limiters, and that's so you can limit the phase of the VVTi, so basically so you can run a more aggressive cam. And that will also mess up my cylinder deactivation, which I knew I wasn't going to have anymore anyway, so there'll be no more cylinder deactivation, so poor me. And of course, head gasket, ARP main studs, ARP head studs, and of course iridium spark plugs, motor oil, of course, and then of course the cost to retune, 32 hours of labor for that, and then shipping cost, and a pulley. So we're going to try to find the most aggressive 6-rib pulley that I can find, that I can run with my D1 SC blower, to try to get it to, you know, whatever boost it'll do. I'm hoping for like 10 pounds or something like that. I don't want to go too crazy because, you know, the new motor's already going to have a lot more power. It's going to have a cam, it's going to have ported heads, so it's going to be making a lot more power. I don't want to just throw a ton of boost at it to begin with and make more power than my transmission and everything else can hold. So I'm going to kind of build it up slowly. This is just to give me the bandwidth to expand closer to that 1,000 wheel mark. That is kind of my goal now, I guess. 1,000 to the wheels always sounds good. So whenever you can say I make 1,000 horsepower, even if it's not to the wheels, if you just say 1,000 horsepower, that sounds cool. You know, everybody knows like 10, 15 years ago, 1,000 horsepower car, you were like on top of the world. But today it's like, you know, you can do it for not a whole lot. Kind of sad. So now we got a 4 innovations fuel system, and this was upgraded, and you'll see it later in the thing, but it was actually upgraded to a triple pump system with -10 feed lines. So it's going to be, I'm going to be able to flow enough fuel for pretty much whatever I want to do. And it's just to explain why I'm doing things a little bit this way is because I just like having the bandwidth to expand. Like anytime you have to go back in and address the fuel system because you didn't put enough in it, it's the cost to just get that extra edge to where you can expand if you want isn't nearly as high. So like I might spend a few extra $100 that I might not use right away, but I'll have the bandwidth to, you know, increase the power later if I want without changing out a bunch of stuff. And that's the big deal. Fuel system labor and everything, the motor's going to be out and everything, which makes some of this a little bit easier, and that's why I'm getting so much stuff done at once, because when the motor's out, you know, it's easier to run the fuel lines and to do a lot of the stuff. So it's kind of almost mandatory from a cost effectiveness standpoint to do everything at once. So labor for fuel system, and then of course trans cooler, that's going to go CNC porting from Hoopers heads, Hoopers, Hoopers heads. So we're going to be getting ported heads from them. And then BMR non-adjusting trailing arms, and that's just to try to reduce the flex in the rear end, because it's going to obviously have a lot more power and you're going to be able to launch a lot harder. That's another thing that the 426 kind of started growing on me on, because like if I'm going to want to launch the car harder, going with another 392 with even lower compression, it's just going to, you know, be even more difficult to get it out of the hole hard, since it just doesn't have the low end power that like a 426 would. Or if I had like a blower that made power down low, it would eliminate that problem as well, but I don't. So I got a Pro Charger, which doesn't make that much boost until you're getting up to like, you know, 3,000-4,000. So, you know, a low launch, because I don't plan on stalling it up high or anything or getting a different converter. It's gonna, you know, it's not gonna have a lot of power down there. So the 426 gives me a little bit of an edge down low, and then I still have the Pro Charger to pick me up on the top end. So that was kind of the theory behind that. That's one of the things that helped me run with that decision. So we'll see. And okay, so we got trailing arms, labor for the trailing arms, of course. Hellcat drive shaft. It's actually drive shaft for my car, and it's basically a yes, SRT, not Hellcat. So this is to explain what happened here. The old brand new Hellcat drive shaft, he had a car that he could use it for, and when he was going to put it in mine, then he said, "Oh, I can use it on a different customer's car, and I'll just order you one." So that's what we're doing. So he actually saved me pretty good on that, since I'm now getting it swapped with the proper drive shaft. Let's just hope I don't go HP 90 transmission later, and then I could have used it, but we'll see. And this is the other amendment on the pump. So it's going to be upgraded with the triple pump level 4 system with -10 feed lines. So that's going to be pretty stout. So that's the end of it there, and then you can see the grand total here. His lighting is messed up. So this is the money. This is how much money we're spending. So you can see the subtotal from all the stuff there is going to be $19,628. He's giving me a discount with the motor. He's going to use my motor for something else, and so that saved me a little bit of money. I still have to pay the $1,500 core charge, but it's still good savings. I mean, as you can see, that this is helping it cost not nearly as much. So I definitely got to thank Alex and Peitz Performance, because they're really hooking me up and helping me with the build. You know, not only with the pricing, but obviously with advice and stuff. So I really appreciate them there. So that brings the total that I have to pay to $16,128. So that's really what the number you can look at. It's costing me 16 grand to get all this stuff done. And I've paid 10,000, as you know already. That makes the grand total that I still owe $6,128. So there you have it. build a 426, that's what it costs. So obviously this motor with the fuel, I can run 885 if I want. It has plenty of bandwidth for that. The only thing I would need to change eventually is the injectors, and that's not a big problem. I can just go with some 1400s or something like that. Right now they're 1000cc injectors. So I'll have a lot of bandwidth. I mean, I can make a lot of power. Clearly, I need to address some other things. The transmission, the drive shaft's going to be addressed, but eventually, like, I'll have to upgrade some of the little creature comforts on the car that are required to actually put the power down. But the motor will be good right now, and changing the transmission out, from talking to Alex, doing it with the motor isn't really going to save much time at all, so it's going to be fine doing it this way. So I'm going to try to get the transmission done as soon as I can, but we'll see how it goes. Hopefully, maybe we'll get to see how much power the HP70 will actually hold, because right now it's been working like a champ. I know some people have ate them before. I don't really know what power level or what they were doing when they ate them, or how the tune was, because there's different things you can adjust in the trans tune. Like you can tell it like not to shift as hard, you can tell it not to slip, you can remove some of the torque management from the transmission that will lead it to a quicker death, but make it shift faster on the short term. And that's not what we've done. And I think people just did that early on, probably because they didn't realize it would kill the transmission. At least that's what from reading about it, that's what I've heard. So that's it. Let me know if anyone has any questions. Obviously, the car is going to be gone for a while. I'm assuming like 3 or 4 weeks, so we'll see how it goes. But that's going to be it for now. Thanks for watching. I'm sure everybody's going to have a bunch of comments and questions, so just put them down below and I'll answer them. Peace.
Black leather on his ass, keep a hustler heated. Weed is engaged in the pavement. Rubber escorts like I'm seeking arrangement. Push the gas, escalate the gauges, escalate hits on the cam girl's page.